Okay, now we're in section 6, household, and chapter 14. It's time for the ceremony. That was indicated by the bell that starts up here and that ended on the last chapter. Offred walks down the stairs and past that eye of glass, that weird mirror on the wall beside the stairs, in which she briefly sees a waif, W-A-I-F. That is, an abandoned child is what that means. We're reminded again of her infantilization, again bringing that image of Little Red Riding Hood up, or maybe even of Goldilocks here. In fact, there's another child story, or poem really, that Offred conjures up when going into the sitting room. Maybe it's called a drawing room, as used by rich families long ago, or a parlor, the kind with a spider and a fly. That's the child's poem by Mary Howitt about a spider who tricks a fly into his nice parlor. It's a cautionary fable about not getting tricked into danger by sweet words. She's being quite ironic in the third paragraph. It's a sitting room for only Serena Joy. Offred will be standing. Anyone else in attendance for the ceremony will be standing, except of course for Offred. She will be lying in position between Serena Joy's knees after the prayers and everything. I won't describe any more than that. So Offred goes into great detail describing the sitting room. A lot of money was spent on old-looking things. It was meant to look old, like it was fashioned back in the 50s in an innocent time. The old women in the painting might be ancestors, but maybe not. They're dressed conservatively and seem to guard the room. There's a porcelain Cupid, a symbol of love and lust, who holds a lamb, L-A-M-B, which is a symbol for innocence and for Jesus. I'll put something on the screen there. And of course, another idea behind the lamb and of Jesus, as we talked before, he was a sacrifice, and it seems like the handmaids are something of a sacrifice for Gilead as well. Porcelain is white and fragile. There are also flowers, some dying and drying, like Serena Joy again. All the smells she describes are remnants or leftover things of the household, which is the name of this section. The perfume smell symbolizes luxury and thus wealth, but it also smells like cheap perfume given to mothers by children. This could evoke both Offred's infantilization or Serena Joy's need to seem younger. You could see both of those things in there. And she wants to steal something from the room and take it back in order to be rebellious. She uses the word secrete, S-E-C-R-E-T-E. It's another interesting choice of words, and it can probably be left up to interpretation. Usually one secretes a bodily fluid. But is she using it for this purpose, or also because it sounds like the word secret? She'll have another secret thing in her room if she steals something. Then Offred plays with the word household. The commander holds the house together. You often hear the saying, "Put your house in order." I just heard it on the series Ozark last night. Also, a man and a woman during a marriage say to have and to hold till death do us part. The hold, H-O-L-D, of a ship is the great empty space below that holds cargo. This links back to the play on vessel, which is also a ship that carries cargo. So it makes one think of the hollow womb, W-O-M-B, of Offred that during the ceremony will hopefully be filled with a child to carry. The hold here now is hollow, but perhaps Offred feels hollow in more than one way. No self-fulfillment in the new dystopia, perhaps. So, having trouble talking today. So Nick enters, and he stands too close. And yes, Nick will be there during the ceremony. Everyone in the household, because it's a household together, they have to come to the ceremony. I guess they're all as witnesses, etc. So Nick enters, and he stands too close. Under her dress, his feet are up against hers. She can feel his shoe. Her shoe becomes a living thing, blood flowing into it, perhaps like the tulips becoming more red in an earlier chapter when she sees Nick washing the car. Serena Joy is dressed in blue, reminiscent of Mother Mary. Mother Mary is often depicted in blue, and she is often depicted sad due to her sacrificed son, Jesus. Offred, in her mind, pokes fun at Serena Joy wearing flowers, since flowers are the genital or sexual part of plants. She's too old for anything that entails. So, a television set in the room plays a boys' choir singing, and yes, the lyrics are singing are suggestive of what is about to happen. The commander hopes. Atwood doesn't lose any meaning in words, as we've discussed before, not even with body quibblings here. So we also find out more about other channels being broadcast. Remember the old broadcasts I talk about, ABC, NBC, all those are gone. There's even one blocked that comes from Canada, but they can't see the signal. But there's also the news, which they all get to watch on days of the ceremony when the commander's late. Yet the news is about state propaganda. That's all it is, pretty much. We do learn that they're fighting against the Baptists, and we learn a little more about the army, how it's structured, and that there is a heretical or ungodly group of Quakers who have been sneaking important things out of Gilead into Canada. Also, we learn that Detroit, Michigan is being destroyed. And yes, we have the reference to Ham, the sons of Ham, or the black population. They are being moved or resettled, euphemistically speaking, just like what was talked about in The Fire Next Time. Chicago has a large black population, by the way. So yes, Gilead is racist. The place they are being moved to, called Homeland 1, is in North Dakota. It's cold and quite barren there. Farming would be difficult. The Nation of Islam, as discussed in The Fire Next Time, had wanted states in the South. That's an area that they had been forced to farm, but an area that was fertile. And they wanted to take that area over. These so-called sons of Ham wanted to take that over in order to have a good life for themselves, even though, of course, Baldwin didn't agree with it. Okay, so also North Dakota is a state with 5 Indian reservations. Indian reservations, that's a euphemistic name for when the American whites cleared the country of these Native Americans, rounded them up and made them move to small areas of the country. So the idea of relocating populations has actually already happened before in the U.S. It's there, it's not fiction. Now, so Serena Joy has turned off the television. Offred time travels again in her imagination. There's nothing else to occupy her mind right now as they wait for the commander. By the way, she tells us here that she's not giving us, her imaginary audience, her name. She wants to bury it and dig it up later like a treasure. But anyway, she goes back in time to that Saturday that she, Luke, and their daughter tried to escape Gilead. She says that dead girl because she had earlier resolved to think of her daughter as dead, so she'd have no more hope, which had become kind of a torture for her. They had planned pretty well in advance. They had fake licenses and passports even. Gilead, apparently, was now in a war with others, but they weren't as strict as they are in the present narrative. They could travel across the border to Canada on a day trip, for instance. However, it was bad enough that they had to make it look like they were coming back. And it was bad enough, of course, that they weren't able to go through with the plan.